Hey, my name is Ability Godwin, and in today's documentary, we are tracking 10 global events that will likely become future history. Let me speak plainly. History is not what happened. History is what changed the rules. And right now, the world is quietly rewriting the rules in real time. On climate, on war, on money, on technology, on population, on health. Before we get into the list, I want to ask you one question. If someone opened a history book 50 years from now, what would they circle as the moment the world tilted into a new era? Because here is the twist. The biggest turning points often look like separate headlines, happening in different countries, on different days. But when you connect them, you realize they are one story. A story about a planet under pressure, and systems struggling to adapt. Before we uncover the truth behind today's story, take a moment to subscribe to Historical Heist. This channel brings a history you never knew existed to reality right before you. Now, let's step into the story. 1. The climate reality. The IPCC puts the world on record. This is future history because the IPCC's Climate Change 2023 Synthesis report is not a blog post. It is a global scientific consensus, signed off by governments, and it states clearly that climate change impacts and risks are already widespread, and they escalate with every fraction of warming. The historical part is not just the warming. It is the moment the world stopped arguing about whether it is happening and started arguing about how bad it will get and who pays the cost. Who is saying this and why it matters? This is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, the main scientific body that synthesizes climate research for the UN system. 2. COP28. The fossil fuel era gets named inside UN language. COP28 produced an agreement that UN climate change described as signaling the beginning of the end of the fossil fuel era. The UAE consensus text includes language about transitioning away from fossil fuels in energy systems. Why this becomes future history? Not because words instantly change reality, but because international language shapes policy, lawsuits, financing, and how companies plan the next 30 years. When the UN processes it out loud, it becomes harder to pretend it is optional. 3. A new nuclear arms race warning. The return of high alert danger. SIPRI Yearbook 2025 warns that a dangerous new nuclear arms race is emerging at a time when arms control is severely weakened. SIPRI also reports that about 2,100 deployed warheads are kept in a state of high operational alert on ballistic missiles. Why this becomes future history? Because high alert means compressed decision time. It means a crisis can become irreversible before people even realize it. Future history will track whether the world defused this or drifted into disaster. For the EU AI Act, the first major AI rulebook goes fully live in 2026. The European Commission states the AI Act entered into force on August 1st, 2024, and will be fully applicable on August 2nd, 2026, with phase obligations. Why this becomes future history? Because this is the moment AI stops being just innovation and becomes infrastructure, the kind of thing societies regulate like medicine, banking, or aviation. And once the EU does it, the blueprint effect spreads. Plot twist. The most powerful inventions always begin as tools. Then they become systems. Then society either regulates them or gets regulated by them. 5. The WHO Pandemic Agreement. The world tries to rewrite outbreak rules after COVID. The WHO states the World Health Assembly adopted a pandemic agreement on May 20th, 2025, designed to strengthen prevention, preparedness, response, and equitable access to vaccines and other tools. Reuters reported the vote numbers: 124 in favor, none opposed, 11 abstentions, after years of negotiation. Why this becomes future history? Because the next pandemic will judge this agreement. People ask, did the world learn or did it just promise? 6. Artemis 2. Humans leave low Earth orbit again, and the moon becomes strategic. NASA reported on March 12, 2026 that Artemis 2 passed a flight readiness review and pulled go toward an April 1st launch attempt, pending remaining work. Why this becomes future history? Because the moon is not only romance and science anymore. It is technology, prestige, and long-term positioning. And once humans start going again, it pulls finance, industry, and geopolitics behind it. 7. The global debt record era. The numbers that decide elections and survival. The IMF Global Debt Monitor 2025 reports total global debt reaching $251 trillion in 2024 and stabilizing just above 235% of GDP. UNCTAD reported global public debt reaching $102 trillion in 2024, with the burden hitting developing countries hardest. Reuters reported the Institute of International Finance estimate that global debt reached a record $348 trillion at end of 2025. Why this becomes future history? Debt is not only economics. Debt decides whether a country funds schools or just pays interest. Debt decides whether a government survives an election. Debt decides whether protests start, whether austerity spreads, whether migration increases. 8. The demographic turning point, aging, shrinking, in the migration era. The UN World Population Prospects 2024 summary of results explains major demographic trends shaping the world, including aging, population peaking in some countries, and the role of migration. Why this becomes future history. This is slow history, but it is unstoppable history. Aging reshapes labor, pensions, care, productivity, and politics. And migration becomes a pressure valve or the political trigger, depending on the country. 9. Ukraine, war that keeps rewriting international law and accountability. In February 2026, the UN General Assembly marked the 4th anniversary of the war and adopted a text calling for ceasefire, showing the conflict remains globally defining. In March 2026, a UN inquiry found Russia's deportation and transfer of Ukrainian children amounts to crimes against humanity, and the OHCHR press release also states the Commission's conclusions. Why this becomes future history? Because it is not only territory. It is a test of whether the international system can document, prosecute, and deter crimes, or whether power outruns law. 10. Gaza and the wider Middle East crisis, a conflict that reshapes everything. Britannica's running summary frames the Israel-Hamas war as a major historic conflict, including an October 2025 ceasefire going into effect on October 10th, with continuing consequences. CFR's Global Conflict Tracker documents the conflict's significance and ongoing escalation trends. Why this becomes future history? Because it reshapes diplomacy, alliances, military doctrine, humanitarian law debates, and regional stability. Future historians will track what changed permanently and what new cycle began here. You've made it to the end of this story. History is full of mysteries, forgotten moments, and shocking truths that continue to shape the world we live in today. And every story we uncover raises one important question: what else is still hidden beneath the surface of history? If this documentary made you think, surprise you, or even challenge what you believed before now, then the story has done its job. But the conversation doesn't end here. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what stood out to you the most, and let us know which historical mystery, crime, or untold story you would like us to investigate next. And if you enjoy uncovering the secrets history tried to hide, make sure you subscribe to Historical Heist, where every episode digs deeper into the stories the world should never forget. Thank you for watching. Until the next investigation, stay curious.